Good morning. My name is Bruce Macon. I'm a part of the Macon Institute for Neurochange. Today, on our NeuroSpark podcast, we're going to talk about connection versus correctness, power of being present with another person. So often in society, we don't listen with the intent to understand. Specifically in this situation is we can be correct, we can tell them the truth without the grace, or we can listen only to say yes, no, things on a superficial level. I'm saying that the power of being connected in the long run will allow us to have a better relationship where the power of presence, the power of attunement, the power of empathy begins to make a healthy relationship. For example, you're interacting with a colleague over a project. The colleague keeps nodding at you, says, yes, I understand. No, I didn't get that. Or just continues to look at his computer screen while you're trying to have a conversation. Or take the teacher and student example where the student says something that may not be appropriate or is not following the classroom guidelines. We could immediately go to discipline, we can immediately correct them, or we can choose the power to listen to understand and gather more information. And maybe it was their inability to communicate correctly that led to us thinking differently. But when we listen to understand, we gather more insight to say, oh, so you mean this when you said that. And so we move away from being correct and we move towards the person who's speaking to understand them better. So we talk about the power of presence and we talk about the power of attunement, which leads to being empathetic towards the person speaking. The, the power of attunement is the capacity to understand another person's emotional state, their needs, and their viewpoints. It's the subtleness of their words. It's the emotion. It's the high and low of their voice. Verbally and non-verbally, we pick up a lot of cues when we are attuning. Presence is the piece that begins it all. We need to stop, look, and listen. So when we stop, we can say, hey, John, I'd like to hear more. And when John hears that, he begins to feel safe. He thinks, okay, Bruce wants to hear from me. So then he can feel that he doesn't have to trip over words. He doesn't have to be careful what he says. And he can talk and explain the project in a more detailed way that can bring questions forward, can bring maybe some doubts he has. And so as we begin to learn more about what he says, then we can begin to understand him. We begin to understand and build inroads to a better relationship. When we can consciously practice being present and then attuning in our interactions, we can cultivate a compassionate and fulfilling relationship and contribute to a more connected world. How often do we not take the time to effectively listen? How many relationships have we had where we just don't take the time to be present, or we just don't take the time to attune? Yes, our world is busy. Yes, we have many things to accomplish. But when somebody wants to talk to you, I suggest that we stop and we engage that person. And by engaging in that person, we're saying that they're important. This conversation I regard is important, and that this is a safe place for us to have this. So, my encouragement for you this week is to stop and take the time necessary to engage in another person's life, to listen intently about the project, the good, the bad. So if we're hedging on, well, that wasn't one of the guidelines in the project, or you can't say that, or I just don't think this is working out. All you do or all you're doing is eliminating that person's desire to want to tell you more about the project, to be able to explain their point of view, to be able to feel safe. I know that when I feel safe around somebody, I can tell them how I feel or what went wrong without feeling like I'm going to be disciplined, or without that person feeling that I'm out of line. We're just there to listen, not correct. So, my encouragement for you this week is take the time, listen intently to someone, try to get to a place where you're comfortable listening, you're tuned out to everything else around you. You're not here to correct, but you're here to listen. And then allow them the opportunity to get comfortable themselves, to feel safe, and you will find many doors will open. Projects might become easier for you because now you have a connection with John and he feels safe enough, and you can work out the ins and outs of the project, and you can get more done and get more understanding because you took the time to listen and understand. Thanks. Have a great week.